Johnny, it's the Shy Life podcast. 479.
You won't find a cast of characters like this everywhere.
Hello, Paul.
I'll go anywhere for a potato.
Delicious.
This particular episode of The Shy Life is a little more abstract than usual.
Okay, looks like the hairy guy is ready to record. 3, 2, 1.
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh, I hope he hasn't found out my secret. I think he has.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm all right. Well, this episode we're going to be talking about music. So we've got Martin back. How are you doing, Martin?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
In the supersonic 70s
Yes,
now.
yeah, we're up to...
That's just my age, you know.
This is the last year before I existed, so...
There we go.
1972.
This is music you've only ever been able to imagine.
Yeah.
You haven't got absolute documentary evidence of actually hearing.
Yeah, it might have been all been a scam. There might have been nothing here before 73, but
this could have been wombs. Yes, this has all been made up. It's all a figment of your imagination.
It's been an elaborate ruse to somehow trick me.
But we'll be listening to the stuff that you heard in the womb, so it'll all be quite echoey and sort of muffled.
Yeah. Well, I'm not shy. No, I don't think I would have existed in any form. Not even as a twinkle in 72, because I'm a late 73 person. So.
You know when the twinkle was.
Yeah. It might be Valentine's Day, but I don't really want to think about this. But yes, November babies, 9 months before. That's found Valentine's Day, isn't it? But, dear.
You're merely a thought of an idea of a maybe of a trembling. So,
yes.
How sweet.
It really depends when the milkman arrives, doesn't it? How often do they deliver? Every week or every day?
Well, at least once it would appear.
Yes. Oh dear. Right, I think we should run the theme music before I get into trouble. But okay, we'll be back in a moment. Run that theme music.
It's time for my old buddy, old pal from across the channel, across the pond, Paul Chandler, the Shy Yeti.
He's not that shy. Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
All I wanted was a pie.
And then I hatched out of an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
It's the quiet ones you've got to watch, you know.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep? Is it deep?
Fair play. He's not all that shy, is right.
Blimey, Governor, it's the Shy Life podcast.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to begin.
It's the Shy Life podcast.
He's positively glowing.
It's all gooey and meaty and yum.
Right, back. So anyway, I think we've clarified that I did not exist in any form in 1972. So, whereas you did.
Oh yeah, I was old and raddled and hitting the gin by then, probably.
You were in primary school.
I was, indeed, yes, I was. It's funny, actually, this is where memories start, I always say I can't remember much before the age of 12, but there are sort of, obviously, fragments, but I specifically, I remember us having school photographs taken when I was 8, and of course I have documentary evidence of that because we still have the photos, so I know I was definitely around in 72, and I believe, although I may have got my years mixed up here, I believe I was wearing my Disney's Robin Hood t-shirt for my school photograph, and what a sweetie boots I was.
Ah.
Did I know where it all went wrong? Probably about then, I would imagine.
I quite like my photos. When I used to be one of those weird kids who, when school friends came over, I'd be like, "Oh, come and look at my baby photos," or "Come and look at my photos when I was cute." And so I've never had any shame about.
Well, if we move on and if for any reason we decide we are going to carry on forward into the 70s, despite you already having done them. We'll have to accompany it with photographs of yourself at the time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking today about if we can do we could possibly do some of the years. We could do some sort of a new spin on it, or revisited, because
you're overlapping yourself. You see,
we'll see. We haven't done that yet. So
marketing ploy. You can then refer back to the older one.
Yeah.
As I was saying back in episode 12,
listeners, this is behind scenes business. We'll work it out when we get to it.
Planning meeting. Yeah, you've sneaked into a planning meeting without realising it.
Oh dear. So. Let's have a look.
I'll put the folders away now.
Let's have a look and see any sort of events that happened. So, the debut, this is January, the debut of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon at the Dome in Brighton is halted by technical difficulties. Dark Side of the Moon will be played in its entirety the following night, but it would be a full year before the album was released. Interesting.
Crikey.
Yeah.
And yet, people who were at the concert didn't notice the year pass at all because it never stopped.
Yeah, it's still playing until it came out. So who else have we got? We've got Paul in February. Paul McCartney's new band Wings make their live debut at the University of Nottingham. It's the first public concert. It's McCartney's first public concert since the Beatles' 1966 US tour.
Crikey, O'Reilly.
This is one that's sort of exciting because it's not that far from where I live. February the 10th, David Bowie opens the Ziggy Stardust tour at the Toby Jug Pub, Tolworth, Surrey. That doesn't sound very grand. That doesn't sound grand enough.
No, I thought you were going to say you opened your local chip shop or something, cut the ribbon or something. But it was actually a concert. It was in a pub.
I'm just imagining a harvester. It just doesn't fit.
God. That's quite weird, isn't it? I mean, imagine that now. I mean, you just can't really, can you? I mean, it would be interesting, really, if people who start their careers in pubs also end their careers also playing the same pubs. It'd be quite, and would, I suppose, more people might turn up. You never know. Does it say how many people went?
No, it doesn't. I'm sure we can find out.
But he was known by then, wasn't he? I mean, Bowie was known as a performer by then.
A couple of days later, Led Zeppelin's concert in Singapore is cancelled when government officials will not let them off the airplane because of their long hair. So they do it.
Wow.
Perhaps they do it inside the airplane.
Wow. They didn't let them land because they were far too noisy. They were disaster area when all said and done.
Dear. Now, in February, I don't know this show, but it's probably was very popular. It's an American daytime television talk show, but between the 14th and 18th, John Lennon and Yoko Ono co-host an entire week of the Mike Douglas Show.
Wow. Michael Douglas, what, the chap from the streets of San Francisco?
So. He looks old. It's a black and white picture here. He looks old even in black and white. So.
I wonder what countries that they wouldn't be allowed to land in because of their long hair. This kind of this hairist approach to immigration, I find very, very disturbing. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
There were 4,017 episodes of the Mike Douglas Show. That's more than Sutton Park. How dare he?
Wow, it's amazing, isn't it? Actually, some people you're just never going to catch up on. I think I'm struggling after 40.
Well, I don't think I'm ever going to do as many episodes of the Shy Life podcast as I did Sutton Park, but then Shy Life podcast episodes are longer than Sutton Park episodes. So, some of them were long, but anyway.
More labour intensive, perhaps. I don't know.
At least people are here.
More of a labour of love, isn't it? That's the thing. You have to script every word that comes out of those earphones.
The difference, at least with podcasts, when I did Sutton Park, there was no way that anybody other than people who could come to my house or could receive a videotape could ever see the episodes, whereas at least I'm able to have a better distribution deal with Charlotte Podcast.
Yes. Well, I'm sure my 24 listeners will tune in. Of course, you had to build the sets for Sutton Park, didn't you? That was the thing. I mean, having to create that entire virtual universe just for a few backdrops was quite a labour of love, really.
No, I was painting the backdrops by hand.
Well, I can tell sometimes. You can see those trees. I've never been 100% convinced by those trees.
No. Now, back to Paul McCartney. February the 19th, Paul McCartney's single "Give Ireland Back to the Irish," inspired by the Bloody Sunday massacre in Ireland in January the 30th, 1972, is banned by the BBC. But this only causes it to be more popular.
Well, I was watching an episode of The Four Just Men recently, where Jack Hawkins, who plays a British MP in it, managed to solve the entire Irish problem in a 25-minute episode, and this was in 1958, so I don't know where all the troubles came from. Quite frankly, Jack Hawkins had dealt with it.
Yes.
It was a fascinatingly simplistic view of it, and these complicated I mean, 1972 specifically, complicated politics when you come to things like the Munich Olympics and what have you. They were troubled times, the early 70s, very much so.
Now, on the February the 23rd, Elvis and Priscilla separated.
Separated what?
I don't
separated.
know.
Separated
cake.
Luggage?
I don't know if we'll find out whether that...
Had they been glued together for some considerable time? Was there super... I didn't know they had super glue in 1972. There's a poem. I didn't know they had super glue in 1972.
In February 29th, John Lennon's US immigration visa expires, beginning his
Well, it'll be the hair.
beginning his 3.5-year fight to remain in the country.
Yeah, I think Leonard should have skipped America when he had the chance. I feel history has proved that to be a... Yeah. Let's just say yes.
Also that I think he and Yoko, I think 1975 was one of his wild year or something where he was apart from her, and I
think it's fascinating really now because you kind of think with the way the world's gone in recent times, you know, where people from other countries are feeling less and less welcome in other countries, you know. A couple like John and Yoko. I feel it seems to be all right as long as you're a celebrity, but basically us mere mortals, if you like, you know, we can struggle to go and be where we want to be. I mean, I have days at the moment where I'm not particularly fond of staying here, but equally I think, well, why should I be the one that move? Why can't all the idiots move instead? But there we go. Ooh, bit of politics. Sorry.
Now, I think this is one of these years where the more interesting things are happening. Well, there are lots of things that happen throughout the later part of the year, but they don't sound that exciting. So, so we're still in March, and it's the 17th Eurovision Song Contest.
Wow!
It was held in the Usher Hall, Edinburgh, Scotland, and it's one.
You know, it fascinates me that it always makes me. You know, when the numbers are so small, like 17, you forget that this has happened in your lifetime. You know, I'm looking at it now, and it's the 63rd or the 65th or whatever they've had, and you just forget that these things were once nascent. They were once, you know, in their teens. These things hadn't reached the sort of, I don't know, tradition, I suppose, traditional air of them. So in Edinburgh,
and it was won by. Now, get this right, a German-based Greek singer, Vicky Leandros, who was representing Luxembourg.
Right, okay. See, that's truly international, and we should applaud it and embrace the international nature of that.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Now, this is kind of weird, because you can't imagine this happening now. Well, March 31st, the official Beatles fan club closed down. But if you think about that, then sorry, listeners who don't know this, but well, you know, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society didn't just close down because Doctor Who sort of finished.
No,
because there, you know, before the books and the audios, there wasn't that much going on other than conventions and maybe the odd video here and there. But there was always something.
6 of 1, the Prisoner fan club, still going, exactly. And they've not made one for 50 odd years.
I think there's a lack of commitment from the Beatles fans. Come on, why couldn't they have been writing about the same? They could have talked about some of the old stuff, but also talked about what they're doing now, and plenty of things they could have talked about.
It would have been probably difficult to write original fan fiction about the Beatles, perhaps, or maybe certainly to do Big Finish productions of their own tunes. That would have been.
I don't know. I'd take a challenge.
But I think there's still enough Beatles stuff out there.
I'm pretty sure that there must have been. It must have come back at some point because when people
visions of them having conventions where they all dress in those those suits and have the haircuts and there's like 4 million Ringos having a who's the best Ringo competition and I mean the thing about a Doctor Who convention or a Star Trek convention is people can dress up as aliens, even if they don't think they're particularly beautiful or whatever, they can put an alien makeup on.
And yet during my sort of most prolific convention going period from the 90s and noughties, people dressing up was a very, there'd be one or two, but it was never I think, and yet that's the stereotype that, and maybe in America but again maybe that's a stereotype, but I always think of it being when people say that to me, I always sort of say, well, I think about pictures I've seen of American conventions and well, there does seem to be more people dressing up in American conventions, but now, I think we'll hop the rest of the year, but I will. I have 2 facts for you about Electric Light Orchestra.
Yellow.
Yeah, April the 16th, Electric Light Orchestra makes their live debut at the Fox and Greyhound pub in Park Lane, Croydon.
What is it? Were these pubs very large?
I know. It just doesn't seem fitting.
I mean, did they clear the tables? I mean,
right. Yeah.
Although to be fair, no, I remember a few places that we went to, and there were kind of like there'd be a big dance floor, and then there'd be tables all around, and there would be a stage. So there were places like that. That was kind of the circuit, wasn't it? When you think about it.
And then in June, the founding member of ELO, Roy Wood, leaves just as the band scores its first hit single.
Good timing. Well done.
But then he does Wizard, so he has hits of his own.
Wizard.
So,
and of course, isn't 72 basically when all the Christmas songs that were ever allowed to be written were written? It's kind of
something like that. Well, let's see, because we'll come back to. I'll keep that page up because there's other information for later. But
you're teasing me. You're teasing me, you nutty bar.
Let's jump on to the number ones of 1972. I've got albums, then I'll come back to them later. Yes. Now, singles. UK singles, number one. The first number one of 1972 is The New Seekers. It's I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing in Perfect Harmony.
I'd like to teach the world to drink a drink that we are going to advertise.
Yes.
Now, isn't that song that was actually... Is that the one that started off as the advertising lyric and then people were so keen on it that they released a single? Or was it the single first and then they changed the lyrics for the advertising campaign?
I think that it says the lyrics were rewritten by the songwriters together with the US advertising executive for the Coca-Cola company so
they could play it on the BBC without advertising something.
I like to buy the world a Coke, although it says 1971, so around the same time, because it wasn't hard to say, because it may it must have existed.
I thought it existed as the advert before it existed as the song.
It's very close. It's very close timing wise. Wow.
That's how we got our culture back then. You see, someone stuck an advert on, and then we'd all go out and buy the single. That's why we're all singing the Nimble Bread song.
See, this is one of the ways we can refresh. Going back to years we've already done, we could really delve into this until the listeners go, please stop now.
Dig deep into the advertising background of every single music that's ever been, whether it's been used in an advert later, whether it's been on a film soundtrack.
I start getting letters saying, please, Paul, can you do more of your poetry episodes? We love them. It's my plan.
We've had a letter from a Mrs. Trellis.
So that's number one for 4 weeks.
4 weeks, wow. And everybody was sort of running around the garden, sort of high on fizzy pop.
Yes, yeah.
The New Seekers, of course, I suppose the original one and only Seekers.
Now we have looked into this before, and I think there's some connection, but it's pretty tenuous, or it's just one person from the original Seekers.
I have an LP of my mother and father's of the Seekers, and I'm sure basically it's the cast of How.
Yeah, they do.
I'm sure this Fred Dinage is in there somewhere.
Yes.
I'm convinced of it.
Now, our next number one for 2 weeks, probably one that I play more than the new Seekers song. To be fair, although I don't mind one or two new Seekers songs.
I'd like to buy the world a loaf. No, not that one.
Well, our next number one is Telegraph Sam by T-Rex.
Wow. Telegram.
Yes, sorry, Telegram. Yes, I can't read.
No, it's all right. Telegram Sam, you're my main man.
Yeah.
Fascinating thing. Now, let me think. Heather Elliott. Heather Elliott, who was the big sister of one of my contemporaries. So we all thought she was lovely because she was a few years older than us. Absolutely massive T-Rex fan.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like I say, for no nefarious purposes whatsoever, but I'm very conscious of her bedroom in my memory. Because it was absolutely wall to wall. You know, because you used to go to people's houses and you'd sit in their bedroom. You know, you go up and that's what you did, isn't it? It wasn't because of older, more grown-up things. But the place was plastered with pictures of Mark Bolan and T-Rex, and I hadn't a clue who he was. Oh, bless her.
And I think we had some. Let me see. Yes, we had 2 number ones from T-Rex in 1971, and we've got 2 in 72 as well. But 71 and 72. I think 73 was the beginning of the decline. But
I think he was basically the star of the moment in 72, and I think the walls of Heather's bedroom prove it.
Yes.
Or proved it.
Yeah. Now, maybe she's still got her bedroom walls.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I know that. The family moved, a few years later, and everything like that. But I just imagine that somehow in the walls of that house, it's the essence of all those pictures has somehow buried itself deeply into the plaster. And one day, there's this shrine to Mark Bolan. Yeah. Occasionally on sort of dark nights on the anniversary when his car hit the tree, you can hear the sound of Telegram Sam in the wainscoting. Maybe.
A friend of the show, Elaine, used to have her bedroom was covered in Doctor Who, and particularly Peter Davison. I feel like she said that when she was into Adamant, there was lots of Adamant, but by the time I knew her, it was all Doctor Who, and it was literally wall to wall. And her mother is still alive and still lives in that house. So I forget to ask her whether she's been moved out of home for 20 years or so, probably longer. But I've never asked her whether is that bedroom, because it would now just be a spare bedroom now, whether it was left as a shrine or whether it was finally redecorated. But,
it's probably full of really rare memorabilia.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely was. It appears in episodes of Sutton Park, so it is sort of, in a way, immortalised in Sutton Park. But
it's a forever Davison, a forever shrine. Somehow it's there. All these things, everything leaves its footprints somehow in the history of the world. It's very, very, very beautiful.
Our next number one for 3 weeks is Chicory Tip, Son of My Father.
Chicory Son. Oh yeah, that was one of the sisters, definitely.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
It had a nice riff to it, that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's have a quick look. They only really had a few singles, but they had another one in 72 called What's Your Name, and that got to 13, and they had a single in 1973 called Good Grief Christina, which only got to 17. But
Good grief, Christina, we've only got to number 17.
But some of their other singles, I'm going to have to. I probably want to edit this. I'm going to have to listen to one or two of them, because the single before Son of My Father is called I Love Onions.
Right. Well, I suppose that might be something to do with the chicory essence when all said and done. I mean,
I'm
still trying to work out what a chicory tip is, and I'm hoping it's nothing nothing suspect or untoward.
Yeah, maybe there was a song about vampires or something.
Yeah.
Another of their singles is called "Cigarettes, Women, and Wine."
Cigarettes and whiskey and wild, wild women. They'll drive you crazy. They'll drive you insane. That's not it.
Now, didn't Chicory Tip? Weren't Chicory Tip one of those bands who looked very glam as well? I
can't remember what they were like. Again, sometimes my image of certainly 72 bands is basically lots of hair and beard. They all looked like Jethro Tull to me, to a certain extent, in my head.
They did start in 67, even though they weren't even releasing singles at that stage. So I imagine they went through different looks. But
no, it's the image in my head. There's these massive. They all look a little bit like there's a painter, Bob Ross. Got this massive sort of sticky out sort of afro kind of hair, I suppose, to a certain extent, but big hair, glasses. Now, I suppose the other is that image that Jeff Lynne never lost as well, with the big dark glasses and beard. And, they all look like that,
which is still the 2021 look.
Yeah.
Now,
just a bit greyer now.
Well, I'm not sure whether he is a friend of the bottle.
I have a friend who has a theory, and it says who says that the thing you've got to accept about all the rock stars of that era is there must have been something in all those drugs they were doing, just simply because it's preserved their hair, and they're all still going. The ones that survived. And none of them have had the hair fall out,
and their hair is still jet black. So I don't know how that happened.
There's something in that stuff they were smoking that may have preserved. It's a preservative. They're all absolutely. They're all yes. They've been either that or they all go and sleep in Tupperware.
Yeah. Now our next number one, and I was just looking whilst we were talking to see how many other hits he had, if at all. And it's Nielsen with "Without You," which was there for 5 weeks, and also I think other people have had number one hits or at least big hits with that song.
I feel I should be more familiar with that one. I can't quite think of what it sounds like. But then, funny enough, his name rings a bell more than the.
I guess you definitely describe it as a power ballad. Mariah Carey did a version, which is, I think, the version that also got to number one. Maybe other people did, but Paul McCartney once described the ballad as the killer song of all time.
I shall have to write it down. What's it called again?
Without You.
Without You.
You'll recognise it when you hear it. It is a very classic power ballad. The only other hit that Nielsen had was called "Everybody's Talking," which I think.
Oh yes.
I think.
I do remember.
Beautiful South might have had a hit with that more recently, but I think isn't that from Easy Rider or something like that?
Yes, that rings a bell.
And that wasn't a massive hit over here. It was a.
That's possibly why I had the name. Actually, that's possibly why. It's probably on some soundtrack album.
Well, I think that only got to number 23, but
right.
Now next one. Is a change of pace. We have the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards with "Amazing Grace" for 5 weeks.
Crikey!
I'm not quite.
Now, is that one of those ones that was actually at the top of the charts for about 23 years?
Well, only 5 weeks, but I'm not sure what. Yeah. I'm not sure. It doesn't really.
It's like the sort of face used to drop on the top of the Pops presenters because they'd go, "Oh, and yet another week of this old, not really pop music-y at all" kind of thing.
Because it's such a famous song or traditional song, and obviously the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards have done other things. It's difficult to actually find very quickly why at all.
Yeah, why then? Yeah, what was it? What was it? What were the dates? It was
sort of around April 72.
Okay, April 72. I can't think of any. Again, because sometimes there are tunes that are, maybe there was a Scottish. But they didn't compete as Scotland, did they, in the Olympics? So it wouldn't have been the Scotland squad for the Olympics unless there was some sort of football. No, again, that's usually on the alternate couple of years, though, isn't it? Yeah, it's weird, that one.
Let me see. Trying to scan reader, but It's not that. It's something about Judy Collins.
Okay.
Something about Aretha Franklin and Rod Stewart doing versions in about the same time.
That might explain it. Yes, of course he was big on his tartan, wasn't he, old Rod?
But yeah, there's quite a lot. It's all there on Wikipedia if you want to have a look, listeners. I can't trace it.
We will post a link at the bottom of this program.
Unless you really want me to spend the next 20 minutes explaining it.
It's flashing up on your screens now.
Yeah, pause it. Now, more my taste is the next number one. Right. It is T-Rex again with Metal Guru. For 4 weeks. Yeah. So that actually was at number one for double the...
I do sometimes think, song titles, sometimes when you step back and take them out of context, they make no sense whatsoever. You've got metal and you've got guru, and you think, I'll bring those two words together. Although I suspect there's probably some deeper meaning in the story of the Metal Guru.
Well,
or Guru.
He was. I like to do poems where we were playing around with words because they bounce off nicely. But I think Mark Bolan was definitely someone who did that. Would make a
absolutely
would put nonsense stuff together and make
Velvet Mentor. Not quite the same thing.
Yeah. Now our next number one is Don McLean with Vincent. 2 weeks.
Crackerjack.
I don't think it's that Don McLean.
Sorry. Singing through his big teeth. Say, hey up, Peter Glaze, come over here. No, different one. This is the American Pie Man, isn't it?
Yes. I can never remember what Vincent sounds like, but I think again it's one that's quite famous.
Yes, it's that beautiful as you. The world was never meant for one as beautiful as you.
But how were they writing? I don't know how they were writing. I wasn't even born. How can they write this song in 1972? Were they predicting
precisely.
arrival?
Yes, of course. This is the Van Gogh. Van Gogh.
Yes.
Van Gogh. Remember how to say it?
You got a bad cough.
Sounds like cough, not like go.
Go.
No, not go. Gough like cough.
It's a good thing.
It's easy to remember. You got to have a system.
I've forgotten the name of the band now. Alison Moyer. It's a good thing Yazoo didn't sing "Don't Goff." So our next song is, I think it's not the first time I've heard them. They were here last year. We've got Slade with "Take Me Back Home."
Take Me Back Home. Yes, the famous Slade spelling.
Yes, back is spelled
B-U-K.
Yes. It's B-A-K, and then they've dropped the H on home. And actually, it was number one for a week, but I don't think that's one I could place unless I will have to have a look when I'm editing. But
there'll be lots of shouting and sideburns and again a lot of tartan. Tartan was kind of big in that era, which is weird because we're still before the Bay Cities and their tartan frenzy, but there was a lot of tartan in design around about then, oddly. The always thing I think about with Noddy Holder, of course, is just sideburns. They're just sideburns that seem to expand in every image you see of him. So I think sometimes they wrap round his head 3 times. Tom Baker's scarf was actually Noddy Holder's used sideburns, I think you'll find.
Because Slade in a way, put certainly as far as number ones, they managed to have number ones in 71, 72 and 73, which T-Rex didn't manage to do. So,
I like a bit of Slade. Of course, Slade did a film, didn't he?
Slade
in Flame.
In Flame, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I kind of fancy seeing it at some point. But
there's a few albums, a few films that turn up like that. I mean, like the Monkees one.
Yes. Yeah.
Incidentally, I watched that Monkees documentary a couple of weeks ago. Very good.
Yes. Yeah.
The hour and 40 minutes. It's on YouTube. It's worth a look.
What do you know about Slade? Do you know about Slade? No?
It's a prison, mate. It's a prison. It's got porridge in it. It's got Norman Stanley Fletcher. You have been found guilty of it.
So I'm just awaiting the arrival of Adili. You can sit on me, but you have to allow me to look at the screen. Otherwise, I'm scuppered. No, you go that side. There we go. Don't get tangled up. Ow. Oh dear, this doesn't work.
That's great. I'm co-host here on the Shy Life podcast. It's Dealey Chandler.
Oh, right. I lost me. Right, we continue. Can you still hear me though?
Yes, I can.
Right,
You can't hear me.
stay there. So our next number one is, Dills won't like this one. It's Donny Osmond, Puppy Love.
Ooh.
And called it Kitten Love, Dills. Yeah. I would rather.
Saccharine.
Yeah, horrible.
Although massive, again, weirdly enough. It's funny when we talk about these things, I get flashes of memory from time. I vaguely recall, and I may be completely wrong about this, but I think we went to a holiday camp that year for our holidays. And I believe I just have memories of that playing a lot in sort of when you walked in, various rooms. Yeah, Puppy Love, dear me. Still, the Osmonds were a big tour de force in music at that time.
Yeah. Well, completely sort of opposite, different end of the scale from Puppy Love.
What with rotten teeth and no glittery shoes?
We have Alice Cooper with School's Out.
Ah, yes.
That
is Osmond to Alice. I mean, that's quite a leap, isn't it?
Although kind of understandable, they're kind of like, oh my goodness, we have to really buy something that's actually.
Yeah, I think you do absolutely. I mean, they are too squeaky clean for their own good. So what was the Alice Cooper song?
School's Out.
It was School's Out, right? Yeah. Dear old Michael Sheard, friend of friends of the show.
Yes.
Yes.
He used to do that at the discos at Doctor Who conventions. He used to kind of stand on the stage or stand amongst us.
Yes.
We'd all
doing his Bronson bit, and they would all bow at his feet when I saw him do it. Yes.
Yeah,
very much the "We are not worthies, we are not worthies."
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was like there was a whole cult of the Sheardies, or the Bronsons, or the it's a subcult. I'm never quite sure whether Alice Cooper ever met Michael Sheard. I think that would have been an interest. I feel they could have done a show together.
Yeah,
because I think that they're both sort of cult enough for it to have worked.
Or even if Comic Relief or whatever had existed more, or in that sort of way in the mid '80s when he was on Grange Hill, they could have done it for.
Well, if they've got him an Alice Cooper wig, that would have been hilarious. Because it was all based on the wig, wasn't it? But, Sheardy was one of those actors who lost his hair quite young, really, but then always looked about the same age.
Yes, yeah. No, where was I gone? Yeah. So that was Alice Cooper. That was number one for 3 weeks.
Right.
Puppy Love was 5 weeks. Goodness.
Right. So getting to the late summer now.
Yeah. Well, School's Out probably should have come. Well, I guess it might have been released in late
beginning of the summer holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of over the summer holidays, but almost a bit late. But maybe it took a couple of weeks to get to that stage.
The man's an anarchist.
Yeah. Next up, we have Rod Stewart with "You Wear It Well." Only for 1 week.
Don't know that one.
A little bit surprised actually.
Never been a huge Rod Stewart fan. It's one of those weird things. Yeah. I just never took to his stuff really. I know people who went to his concerts and stuff, and I was sort of go, oh, are you? Oh, yeah. I can't imagine he had that many songs, but obviously he did. But if you're not a fan, you just don't pick up on them at all. I mean, apart from the one that was the Art Royal one that went on forever.
Yeah, this Sailing and Do You Think I'm Sexy and stuff like that. They're not necessarily. Those are the ones I first remember, and they didn't really appeal. I have heard ones I do like since, but
He was quite funny when he turned up on the Kenny Everett show. So I mean, he wasn't without being able to take the pee out of himself a bit. But
now next up we have another Slade song. We have Mama. We have Mama. We're All Crazy Now.
Mama, we're all crazy now.
Yeah. That was for 3 weeks.
I feel that the roots of me liking sort of much heavier, harder rock comes from a lot of that must have been born in the actual glam era, because the ones that stick. I mean, I even like, was it Crazy Horses by the Osmonds? Because it's a lot more punchy, it's got a lot more energy to it. So I feel that you can feel that the stuff that gets your pulse racing, and for like them or loathe them, Slade certainly did some songs that actually were proper dance floor stompers. People would be sort of grabbing their belts and doing that left to right dance in the front of each other. Like, there was some proper energy in that stuff for the people who didn't like disco, basically.
Well, alternative music. This is the thing that you start to get music diversifying, don't you, into sort of segments almost. You get sort of channels. Instead of all just being pop, you've got sort of this kind of pop and that kind of pop, and sort of teenage pop and disco pop, and then you've got rock. And it all starts to sort of spread out like a delta, across the Nile Delta type thing. And so you get little streams of stuff going off in different directions. And people did pick up, and I like that, but I don't like that. And of course, right in the mix of all stuff like that, you get bands like Queen, sort of taking little bits of this, little bits of that, and coming together with almost a completely different sound, which was sort of more mass appeal. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating time, the early 70s, from that point of view.
I think, although people tend to say that Oasis were inspired by the Beatles and stuff, they were also inspired by Slade. I think they definitely covered one of Slade's big hits at some point as a B-side, but them and the Kinks, I'd say that Oasis sort of dip into a lot of that sort of era of music. But,
yes, there's a lot of. I mean, that's the thing. If you pick and choose, there's some. I mean, you stick on your 20 jukebox greats of 1972 or whatever. You probably think, I don't. There's about 10 of these I like and 10 I don't. But if you actually sort of pick and choose your way through the music of the era, you really do come up. You can actually come up with something. You could put two sort of CDs from two different people together of their favourites, and there'd be no crossover at all, apart from Mary Hopkin, which would be on everything.
I'm not liking the look of the rest of the year, I'm afraid. We've got to September.
Oh dear.
I have a feeling we've got from the sublime to the ridiculous. Well, the next one I imagine is a ballad, but I'm not sure whether it's David Cassidy with How Can I Be Sure, for 2 weeks.
Again, yeah, this is, I mean, it's funny, we've talked in other places about sort of television shows that were based around pop bands, pop performers, and Partridge Family. Yeah, I do remember people having pictures of David Cassidy on their walls as well, when we're talking about young girls having pictures on their walls, and nobody could ever see the appeal. I've got copies of Looking, which has somebody called Leith Garrett on the cover, and it's like, what was that, and how did that happen?
Just like a skinny boy.
Nobody remembers. But you think, but David Cassidy, I mean, God bless him, and I know he's gone now, but he was the absolute pin-up of choice for a lot of people girls generally. I mean, but of a particular age at that time, and literally all the lads could not see the appeal. We certainly weren't going out of our way to emulate him, to look like him, on the hopes that we'll get sort of hitched up with people or anything.
And I can see, well, I would not say, well, I will say, because I'll say it later, I can see looking ahead that this is not his only number one, not this year, but he's another one that has another, his fame lasts long enough that he has another number one next year.
But you see, my mum liked David Soul a few years later. Now, what's that all about? I mean, she was surely by that stage she was old enough to know better, but no, she really took to David Soul.
I remember Silver Lady from the time. I remember that being quite catchy, but don't think I'd necessarily buy it now or play it now. But
no, absolutely not. Don't give up on us, baby. Oh, shut up! My mum's got her LP on again. That's probably when I got into Judas Priest, but there we go.
Yes, deliberately. Now, the next one I recognise, but I really don't know. Is it a song? Is it a instrumental? You may remember. It's Lieutenant Pigeon with Mouldy Old Doe. What is
Mouldy Old Doe?
Oh, it says it's an instrumental single.
It was mostly an instrumental, but every so often, every so often it just went into this, a bit like the old Lee Marvin. That's gonna, your sound levels are gonna go all over the place for that one. But yeah, no, it was it was. Yeah, it's a bit like I'm trying to think of the other one, Popcorn. Yes. Massive massive sellers that were just these strange electronic-y, almost instrumentals.
Apparently, it was one of Jarvis Cocker's choices on Desert Island Discs when he was on.
Okay. I mean, again, it's kind of weird. I feel it's one of the. It's a 3-word expression that somehow appeals on some, because it's got that rhythm and poetry through it. Mo, do, o,
O. It's got those 3 O sounds in it, so it's probably just. But to actually sort of think, would I build an entire song around those 3 words? Well, obviously they didn't. They just used those 3 words. But the interesting thing about that is, about that time, there were the weekly pop papers would print the lyrics, and I kind of think, well, at least that saved them some ink.
Yes. Now our next number 1 for 2 weeks was Gilbert O'Sullivan with Claire.
Wow. Not Gilbert and Sullivan.
No.
I am the very Claire of a Claire of a Claire and a Claire and a Claire and I declare Claire and a Claire. No, not that. Yes. Yes. Oh, dear me.
I presume that's a ballady one.
Yes. Drippy bloke with a piano. Oh, God, yes. Well, then again, the interesting thing about rock and roll pop history is you will always guarantee sales if you put a specific name in the title. You may alienate all the other people who haven't got that name, but somebody will always be drawn. Someone will always play that at their wedding, or you've got guaranteed sales forever if you have a song that has a name in it.
I can think of at least a few songs where the name of the girl has been chosen. You can tell because it's a good rhyme.
Oh, yes.
Like, but it's kind of. I think Lady Gaga did Joanne, and there were lots of rhymes with Joanne, and I think Mel C did Carolina or something. And because there's lots of rhymes with and as somebody who did a lot of rhyming poetry, I kind of think, yeah.
There was a girl called Carolina who had a very nice. No, let's not go there.
I like this song, but even Blondie's Maria, Maria, you got to see her. But that's got a good tune, so I don't resent that.
We'll forgive the Deborah Harry a lot.
Yeah. Now we have. Actually, so I've just had a brainwave. Another way we can redo music is pick particular groups and then talk about their discographies. Ooh. Anyway, sorry.
The discography. Well, that's an endless one, isn't it? That's
yes.
It's an eternity of me rattling on about stuff I know nothing about. Yes.
I know. You'll never leave. Oh dear. Right, we've got 2 more number 1s, and the next one is Chuck Berry with My Ding-a-Ling.
Well, you have that.
Not my personal Ding-a-Ling.
That was the one, and the B-side to that is Magic Roundabout, I think. Is that right? No. I'm sure it's got a very rude B-side, that one. I don't know why, I can't think. Or maybe that was just... Wasn't it the one they tried to ban, My Ding-a-Ling, because people decided it was rude?
Yeah, it was number 1 for 4 weeks.
Yeah, we had it. My sister had it, certainly. Everybody sing...
Trying to see what the B-side was, but
no, so I'm thinking of the wrong. I'm thinking of Jasper Carrot and Funky Moped as the Magic Roundabout as the B-side, but
it's based on the melody of the 19th century folk song "Little Brown Jug."
No, it was very popular in its day. I don't know why. Maybe because people thought it was a bit rude, or maybe did it get banned by anybody, or did they refuse?
Yeah, it got banned in America, particularly. Oh, right. In Philadelphia, but
the funny thing is the lyrics are very vivid to me for that one. I'm not going to sing them now. You'll be grateful to hear, but I can, every time that bell would ring, catch me playing with my ding-a-ling-a-ling, oh yo ding-a-ling, yo ding-a-ling. That's all you playing with your own ding-a-ling. Yeah, and that was the only Chuck Berry song I knew for years.
I don't know what equal. I nearly said Dick. I don't know what equal make of this. But,
I dropped off at the vestibule. Every time vestibule. That was it. It had the word vestibule in it. I always like that.
Well, our final number 1 of 1972 is another novelty song.
Really? Okay.
It's Little Jim.
Kind of year. Sorry, what?
Yeah. Is Little Jimmy Osmond with Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool.
Long-Haired Lover from Liverpool. Sung by an American... presumably, because they were Mormons, weren't they? So they were presumably from Utah.
Yeah. It was number one for 5 weeks. I think it probably goes into the beginning of 73. But
It was kind of like that Wesley Crusher everybody wanted to throttle, really, wasn't it? There was something about. I don't know why did I mean, was it the fact that teenage girls the same age as him loved him? Was it the fact that mothers loved him? Is it like that Father Ted episode where all the mammies love the what?
Yeah, I imagine it must be the mammy. He was too young and childlike to sort of be fancied by anyone. But
it's a bizarre.
But except for mammies, maybe who think he's sweet. But I don't know. It's a funny one. He's not got the same appeal as Donny Osmond, who's an adult child or teenager.
Well, late teenager. Yeah, I don't know what the appeal of Jimmy. But then again, I mean, in America, didn't the Osmonds actually have sort of like TV specials, and so they went, "Oh, come on, Jimmy, sing your song." Just ghastly.
Now,
bless him.
Let's have a look. Let's just before we go to America, let's just see other big hits that year. So I'll just scan down the list. We've got "I Just Can't Help Believing" by Elvis Presley. Is that one?
Yes.
That was top 10. You got "Horse with No Name" by America, number 3. "Morning Is Broken" by Cat Stevens.
These are all 9. Ones I remember better than some of the number ones you've read out here. I mean, Cat Stevens again, who went on. What was it? What did he end up being called when he Yusuf Islam or something like that?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
I've got a collection of Cat Stevens. Great songs, actually. I'm very fond of Matthew and Son. Matthew and Son, The Work's Never Done. There's always something new. I just think it's a great song.
He does a lot of the songs in Howard and Maude, which I covered with Toppy and DJ on one of their shows.
Yeah. I take a lot of time for Cat Stevens as a musician, certainly.
Now, American Pie. You mentioned American Pie, but that only got to number 2 here.
Really? Parts 1 and 2. Too much single for one side of a single. I think we've still got on the shelf somewhere. Actually.
Yeah, I think when Madonna Madonna got to number 1 with it too, and I think she a pretty awful version. But
perhaps she had to speed it up so it would fit on 1 3 minute.
Yes, she but I suppose it sort of
good old
fitted it fitted with what she wanted to do with it, but. I didn't realise that Sonny and Cher were still. They did "All I Ever Need Is You." I got to number 8.
They were an item for a while, weren't they? I can't remember. Have we already covered Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves? Was that in last year, or was it when? Or was that later?
No, it looks like it was a number 4 hit in November 71. Because it just appears at the top of this list. So it might have still been in the charts at the very beginning of the year.
I was born in the wagon of a travelling show. My mum used to dance for the money they'd throw. It's that one.
We've got "Got to Be There" by Michael Jackson, number 5.
Interesting. Now that would he would have been basically still Jimmy Osmond age, wouldn't he? Then,
yes.
So obviously some sort of thing about children performing in that era, which we'll gloss over.
We've got "Day After Day" by Badfinger, number 10.
Wow,
now, Badfinger, and they had like connections with
Shirley Bassey, obviously. Badfinger, that one. No.
Now of course that's right. We do need to mention them because it was their song "Without You" is the one that Nielsen had the number 1 with. I don't know whether I'm sure somewhere there's a Badfinger version of it as well. But of course, they did "Come and Get It," which was a song that Paul McCartney wrote for them.
Yes.
And
if you want to hear it, "Come and Get It."
Yeah. Apparently, "Day After Day" was produced by George Harrison, so they were. I guess they were still on the Apple label when they did this. Perhaps
everything's connected.
We've got "Stay With Me" by the Faces, number 6. We've got.
Is that "Stay With Me" by the Faces that Rod Stewart had left by this stage?
Yeah.
So when they're saying "Stay With Me," or was he still singing with them?
I don't know whether he was still involved. I mean, he might have been doing.
Yeah, I think the version I've heard is him on lyrics.
it's written by that. Yeah, I mean, for maybe those solo songs we heard were just him starting his solo career, or maybe doing both at the same time for a while. What else have we got? We've got "Look What You Done" by Slade. It got to number 4.
Okay.
I know that one. We've got "Mother and Child Reunion" by Paul Simon, number 5. Got quite a lot. We got "Floy Joy" by the Supremes, number 9. I don't know that I recognise that one.
Weirdly, I think I do, but I can't quite bring it to mind now. But yes, it does. It's. I feel that's. I can. It sort of gets. It was shorthand for a certain amount of Harlem kind of. What do you call it? Not blaxploitation, but I get the impression there was a kind of, it had that air about it, but I may be wrong.
We've also got, talking about football, which we don't like doing really, we've got "Blue Is the Colour," Chelsea football team, number 5.
Right. Okay, interesting.
We've got another nearly number 1 for the New Seekers. We've got "Beg, Steal or Borrow," number 2.
Beg, Steal, Borrow, I do remember, yes. Wow.
Yeah, we've got "Alone Again Naturally" by Gilbert O'Sullivan, which I can remember, number 3.
Oh, Giblet O'Sullivan, yes. Yes.
Meet Me on the Corner by Lindisfarne, number 5. I like that one.
Have we? The 1972 always, for some reason, I always associate 1972, and it may be just because we played it a lot, as because it may have been the year before, was the Zager and Evans year 25, which I think we covered in a previous episode.
I think that was when it was like re-released or something. Now, got one or two other ones to mention. "Back Off Boogaloo" by Ringo Starr, number 2.
Well, that's a title that actually I remember. I remember the title. I don't remember the song at all, but I remember the title. And so, yeah, it's one of those expressions, Maybe it was because people at school say, "Back off, Boogaloo." I don't know, yeah.
What has to be one of the weirdest songs by Tom Jones, or at least title-wise, "The Young New Mexican Puppeteer," number 6. Can't really place that one. But,
it'll when you hear it, you'll go, "Oh, it's that one."
Now I think this is a case of the re-releasing some of the earlier T-Rex because it's listed as Tyrannosaurus Rex. Right. Deborah got to number 7, but I wonder if that was a re-release because it's under the old name and it's one of the early ones. So, like before.
Might be one of those strange changing labels, but they own the song, so they want to get their monies out of it situations, which you do get sometimes with these things.
We've got "Tumbling Dice" by the Rolling Stones, number 5. "Rocket Man" by Elton John, number 2.
Is that the first time Elton John has bothered the charts?
No, I feel like your song.
Oh yes,
might be like an early one. It might be. Some of these people have like Bowie did, have one hit and then it's quite difficult to find the second hit. But what else? I saw one or two other ones. "California Man" by The Move, number 7. Of course, The Move became Electric Light Orchestra. You can see how some things are ending and some things are beginning. "Mary Had a Little Lamb" by Wings, number 9. "Little Willie" by The Sweet.
The Sweet, absolutely fabulous. The only thing that gets me about The Sweet, apart from the fact they had some cracking songs, I mean, "Ballroom Blitz" is again another one of those high octane things that just really sort of takes me back to a particular era. But it's that connection with Taggart, which I still find bizarre.
Yeah.
Were they brothers? Was he Taggart's brother, the lead singer? Mark McManus's. Was it Bruce McManus or somebody? But he was his brother, and it just doesn't. It still won't compute that one. I don't know why. It's just it should. There's no reason why it shouldn't compute. But it's just one of those weird things.
There's quite a lot of interesting ones that got to number 2. There's "Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2" by Gary Glitter, number 2.
We now have to swiftly pass on from that.
Yes.
But yes, he was unfortunately a big part of the next few years in terms of the music scene.
Now, an American Trilogy by Elvis Presley, number 8. Okay. I don't know that I remember that one off the top of my head, but we've got Circles by the New Seekers, number 4.
I think isn't in the ghetto. It's not in the ghetto part of that American.
Might be. That might be why. It might be an EP or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I still kind of think of Cartman on South Park. Saying,
Screw you, Dad.
It's an American Trilogy is a 1971 song medley. It's made of Dixie, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and All My Trials.
Right. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I think we're in. By the looks of the cover of the single, we're into. It's not the right word. Jumpsuit era.
Yeah, it's also. I mean, and again now
white jumpsuit.
That sort of that connection, that Deep South connection, is possibly more suspect now than it probably felt then. It probably just felt nostalgic then, but it's actually. But now it feels a little bit, barge pole time.
Yeah. We've got weird titles. We've got Ooh Wackadoo Wackaday by Gilbert O'Sullivan, number 8.
Fair enough.
Sylvia's Mother by Dr. Hook.
My sister was a big fan of Dr. Hook. Big fan of Dr. Hook. So yes, Sylvia's Mother. Yeah, I do remember that one.
We got Joined Together by The Who, number 9.
Oh, right, okay, don't remember that one.
And I remember this. Certainly I've heard this one. Seaside Shuffle by Terry Dactyl and the Dinosaurs, number 2.
Probably some. Yes. It makes me think of Saturday evening entertainment shows for all the family on the BBC. Called something like Seaside Shuffle or something.
It was written by Jonah Louis, who would later have Stop the Cavalry in about 79.
Always find me in the kitchen at parties, which is I still have my theme tune, except I don't go to parties anymore. I can help it anyway.
We will stop in a minute because we have to get on the plane to America. But we've got Starman by David Bowie, number 10. We've got what else have we got? Run to Me by Bee Gees, number 9.
That's another thing when we talk about the Beatles. But when the Bee Gees got to play Sgt. Pepper's in the film version, it's really weird. So anyway,
Yeah, I've seen that movie. We've got All the Young Dudes by Mott the Hoople, number 3. That's obviously again that's a Bowie song that he wrote.
Mott the Hoople were on the cover of the very first copy of Lookin' I ever had. It's the only thing I knew about them. I thought, what and how do you mott a hoople? That was the question I was asking.
Yes.
I didn't understand that they were just a pop band name. I was very bewildered by that cover for quite some time.
Nick and I, of course, have been recording we did an episode on Looking, but then we've done a few sort of segments where we just take a particular edition.
Oh, yeah.
And this very day I've just bought a load of 1978 Lookings just randomly because they do make for good conversation about TV and stuff.
I think that's the year I have several copies from, actually. 78, 79. It's from my obsession with the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I sort of, because it was like about 10 copies for a tenner, I thought, oh, go on then.
You did well there. I know on the Looking Collectors page on Facebook, I don't know if you remember, but yes, people do seem to pay a bob or 3 for theirs.
Yeah, I'll probably find this page is cut out when I get them, but there we go.
Well, you would be if you got them off me.
Yeah. Now, another big one from 72 is Virginia Plain by Roxy Music, number 4.
Course, yes.
Children of the Revolution, T-Rex, number 2. So he missed out. He just missed out on getting that third number 1. Wigwam Bam by The Sweet, number 4.
Wigwam Bam. No, that's just, yes. Again, when you start to delve into the lyrics, you think there's a bit suspect to that, but yeah.
Yes. We've got Burning Love by Elvis Presley, number 7. Donna by 10cc, number 2.
Wow.
Goodbye to Love by The Carpenters, number 9. Crazy Horses by the Osmonds, number 2. Number 2. And another Donny Osmond one called Why, which got to number 3. Crocodile Rock by Elton John, number 5. Slade did have a lot of singles this year. Goodbye to Jane got to number 2. Lots. And Ben by Michael Jackson, number 7.
Wow.
A Solid Gold Easy Action by T-Rex, number 2. Another. Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, there are definitely some number two. He could well have had more number ones than he did. He was very close to having
but no
more.
cigar.
Yeah. Now let's have a look very quickly at albums. Now, number one albums. We'll just whiz through these. Now, is this of the UK? Yes, UK albums in '72. We have George Harrison, Bob Dylan, and others. The Concert for Bangladesh. We have T-Rex, Electric Warrior. Have Neil Reed. Not sure who Neil Reed is. Yeah, obviously confident enough that he was a Scottish Opportunity Knox winner.
Wow. Neil Reed. Yeah, no,
yes.
The name does ring a bell. I mean, again, it's funny how these things stick in your head. You know, after all these years, things like that. The name Bobby Crush, who was a winner on one of those shows, just sticks in your head for no very good reason other than the fact you were alive at the time and it was on television a lot. But yeah.
He had a number two hit called Mother of Mine.
Mother of Mine. Yeah, he was that. Oh God, yes. He was on one actually. I think that there would be zombie mothers of women of a certain age from that Father Ted episode.
Yeah.
They may well have based it on him. Yeah. How weird.
Yeah, I think the single might come out in '71. He's covered When I'm 64. We've also got Neil Young, Harvest, Paul Simon, Lindisfarne, Fog on the Time, Deep Purple, Machine Head.
Now there's an album.
There we've got. Now, let's see if you can say this quickly 3 times. T-Rex album. Prophets, seers and sages, the angels of the ages.
Wow.
My people were fair and had sky in their hair, but now they're content to wear stars on their brows.
That's the name of the album?
Yeah.
Blimey, Charlie, man. It's obviously appealing to the poet in you. You did that very well, by the way, on a single sight reading. I'm very impressed.
Just a minute. It would appear that it's that's a double. It's a double album.
Right,
with the first and second. It's the first and second albums by T-Rex, but one of the albums is still called "My People Were Fair and Had Sky in Their Hair, and Now They're Content to Wear." Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's still a long title. Then we have Deep Purple, Machine Head Again, T-Rex, Bowling Boogie, the Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, 20 Dynamic Hits 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, 20 Dynamics Hits. No, just 20 Dynamic Hits. What was on that album? Does it say? Cilla Black.
Wow.
Something tells me something's going to happen tonight. Okay. Anyway.
There's a bit of nostalgia.
Then we have...
previously on our little conversations.
Then we have 20 Fantastic Hits, Never a Dull Moment by Rod Stewart.
Wow.
And then it's the last 4 albums were all various artists, party-type albums, which I won't go into. But we should hop on the plane.
Absolutely. And now we've moved into an era where we can go supersonic. So.
Yes. Right. Oops.
Supersonic, you dance too fast for me now.
Oh, Deals is back.
You are a great superstar. We really got you going.
Get in place.
Supersonic. Oh, we're there.
So I think we're going to find that our number ones are quite different.
Okay.
Because they didn't have glam over there, of course.
Yes, glam. No glam in the good old America back in those days. It was very glam free. It was all easy riders and long flat. There was a 2-lane blacktop to the horizon and all this kind of thing.
So the first 2 weeks we've got Brand New Key by Melanie.
Oh, right. Is that the one
we had that?
Yes,
that's the one that the Wurzels did.
Yes. I thought we talked about that before.
Yeah, and then we had for 4 weeks American Pie by Don McLean.
I'm amazed it only has the 4 weeks. I thought it'd be there for 6 months.
Then we have Let's Stay Together by Al Green.
Oh, right.
And then for 4 weeks Without You by Nilsson. So that was number 1 on both sides of the pond. Then we have Heart of Gold by Neil Young.
Okay. No, I never really. It's funny. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and I remember there being, obviously Harvest being a big album. But I'm not sure I could pick a song and say, oh yes, I know that. I don't know whether I've ever actually sort of put on my various devices an actual Neil Young album.
I think there's think there's one. Is it called, the one called "Needle and the Damage Done," which I think I first heard somebody else covering, which made me like that one. But I can't. I don't have a lot of his stuff myself.
Sometimes a performer's complete career passes you by somehow, and it's really weird when it happens. It's just you don't, for some reason your paths never cross. And I think it's fascinating, really.
I'm a bit like that with Dylan. I don't have a lot of Dylan because I don't like his voice very much. I like his songs. I like other people doing his songs. Then we have for 3 weeks A Horse with No Name by America, and then a really lovely song coming up next, I think, The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack for 6 weeks.
That's a bit of a karaoke classic now, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know how to. That only got to 14 over here. Then we have Oh Girl by the Shy Lights. Just for 1 week.
You have to be very careful how you say and hope that you don't have an audio drop out in the middle of it.
And then we have I'll Take You There by the Staple Singers. Just for 1 week. And then for 3 weeks we have The Candyman by Sammy Davis Jr.
Candyman. You can only say it once. You can't play that 3 times on the radio, that's for sure.
And then for 1 week we have Song Song Blue by Neil Diamond.
Song Blue. Yes.
It's sort of. He's sort of having his own hits by now rather than writing songs for other acts. And then we have Lean on Me by Bill Withers for 3 weeks. Not Lean on Me for 3 weeks.
No,
that's.
I think that'd do you back in, quite frankly.
Yeah. Now this is a shocking one. Didn't realise he crossed the pond. For 4 weeks we have Alone Again Naturally by Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Giblets. Wow.
Which I think we said didn't get to number 1 at home. It got to that number 2 or 3 or something.
Just to show what can sneak under the radar when you least expect it.
Yes. And now the next one, I don't know what this sounds like. We have Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass.
Brandy, You're a Fine Girl.
Yep.
Interestingly, Looking Glass, brandy, glass of brandy. Basically, this is an ode to drink. This is
yeah. Now,
everything I got in my career, I owed to drink.
Brace yourself, because coming up next for 2 weeks, Alone Again Naturally, Giblet again. Then we have Black and White, Three Dog Night for 1 week.
Black and White, Three Dog Night.
Yep.
Which is that? Which is the band name, and which is the song?
Three Dog Night's the band,
right.
And they're an American rock band formed in '67. I have heard of them, but I don't know.
Wow.
I'm not sure I know. We haven't got time, dears, have we? And you're very heavy. For a skinny cat, you're pretty heavy. Then we have Baby Don't Get Hooked on Me by Mac Davis.
Okay. No,
3 weeks.
Mac Davis sounds like...
He's a country singer.
It feels like he could be a cartoonist or a comedian for some reason. I don't know. I'm sure he's huge in America, but I just doesn't mean anything at all.
He wrote... weirdly, you say all these things are connected, and they are. Deals, just settle down, you're very heavy. Weirdly enough, Mac Davis appears to have written In the Ghetto for Elvis Presley.
There you go.
So it all comes around.
There's a chap I knew, I used to work with, who used to sing along to his headphones. You know, he had his headphones in, and people he would sing along in the office, and people would sort of say, "Oh, you're singing again," and he'd go, "Sorry," but he always got the words wrong, and he always used to sing "In the Meadow."
Oh.
In the meadow, in the meadow. Oh, there we go. But there we are. That's one of those moments.
Then we have Ben for 1 week.
Ben,
which is about a rat, isn't it?
Yes, about a rat. Yes. Just honestly, God's sake, yeah. Had a friend like Ben. Still, there you go. It's probably got a lot of kids called Ben over the years. from hearing that. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a bit. It's odd that if you trace a line from the Jackson career, the Michael Jackson career, to something like Thriller, it just you can't really see Ben fitting on the. It's somewhere off the graph really. Somehow.
It's a bit like the Laughing Gnome and David Bowie.
Yeah, you just get these one that's a complete outlier, and you don't really know why.
For 2 weeks we have My Ding-a-Ling by Chuck Berry.
Well, you made it. Well done.
For 4 weeks we have I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash.
I can see clearly now. Lorraine has come. Hello, Lorraine.
I don't know why he was singing that one. That doesn't really sound very Johnny Nash. Or Johnny Cash or Johnny Nash.
Yeah. Or Johnny Bash. Or Johnny Dash. Or Johnny Flash.
But it seems like it's quite a... I would have thought that song was older than 1970. Was a cover version. Or is that when it comes from?
Interesting. Although, like I say,
I think it comes.
I feel
I think that's
Lorraine Kelly should have it as a theme tune for her show.
I think that's actually when that song comes from. I thought that it was old, like I said, more of a 60s one.
So it was an old standard. But it is. It's just not that old standard. It's only an old standard in the sense that it's slightly older than your good self.
Yeah. We have 3 more number ones. One is Papa Was a Rolling Stone by the Temptations.
Papa was my dad was in the Rolling Stones. A lot of kids said that, I believe.
Yeah. Definitely. I think that one looks like it. Oh, that one comes from 71 as well. Again, it feels like that one is older. Then we have I Am a Woman by Helen Reddy.
Okay. This is one of those does exactly what it says on the tin songs, isn't it?
It's true.
Yep, look at that. You've got it tattooed on your forehead. Yep, okay. Just in case there was any doubts.
And now the next one again, it looks like this is when it comes from, even though, again, it feels like a much older song. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this song because it appears so often in films and stuff. It's Me and Mrs. Jones by Billy Paul.
Philosophically, very dubious territory, of course.
Yeah. I think that's why something about it I've never really settled with me, but.
Yeah, well, you're a very moral, upstanding cove, Paul. That's what it is. We don't like that sort of thing on our watch. Thank you very much. You're not going to sing songs about getting up to that sort of shenanigans, not while we're keeping an eye on you. Absolutely right.
It also gets a lot. It does get played a lot and gets used in a lot of.
I've bloody well heard people having it as their first dance at weddings, for God's sake. And now and I think sometimes people don't listen to the lyrics at all. It's like that one about the one who puts the advert in the paper, and it's like that. When you think about what's going on in that advert, in that song, you think no, that's dubious. It's dubious in the extreme. But do you like pina coladas? Oh, shut up! Shut up, you two timings. Just because you happen to end up with, because they were both at it. Oh, nightmare. Morally dubious, all over the place. Can't stand it. No, dear me.
Well, it's not from 1972, but I must tell you about, if you don't know it already, there's a song called Two for the Price of One from a 1981, well, from ABBA's last album, which is about a man replying to an advert to go out with 2 girls, and when he meets up with them, one of them's the girl and the other one's her mother. And it ends with a brass band, like a marching band. It's a very strange song, but weirdly enough, the chorus has got one of the best sort of ABBA harmonising choruses of the whole. It's one of those songs that I kind of really love, and it's just wrong as well.
There's some very dubious songs when you actually analyse a lot of song lyrics. I mean, there's that one Substitute. I don't know if you know that one, but I'll be your substitute whenever you want me. It's like, yeah.
Oh yes, I like that.
And it's really, really dodgy when you actually analyse it. You think, hold on a minute, what you're basically saying here is,
Yeah, it's got such an addictively catchy tune. That's one that Nick introduced me to years after it had been famous. And
if she doesn't come back, I'll be your substitute. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What does this say about what you think about yourself? Ah, dear me. But there we go. Perhaps I shouldn't think about these things so much.
Well, no, I mean, I quite like songs that are only only intended as being like somebody breaking up with somebody, and they're not stalkery. But if
we like
you
not
sung them in a
stalkery
certain,
songs, yes.
But if you sung them in the right way, they definitely could be. If you look at them, if you listen to the lyrics and then you recorded them sort of slowly,
I
sort
think
of
you'll
with a dodgy
find,
accent,
yes,
they'd
pretty
be
much
very-
every lyric under the sun could be,
Well, yes.
the Wombles of Wimbledon come and we, making use of the things that we find, things that the everyday folk leave behind.
This is something we could do in a future episode. We've got so many things we could record together, Martin. We'll never stop.
So in our
recording.
combination, talk about 1972 and planning meeting, I think we've done rather well today.
Yes, yeah, I think it's very good. Now, well, we have run out of time, but I do want to just sort of, as usual, we in 1973. Just to give a little bit of a teaser. We have number ones by Sweet, by Slade, by Donny Osmond, by Gilbert O'Sullivan again. Yeah. We have Dawn featuring Tony Orlando. We have Wizard. We have Susie Quattro.
Oh,
we have
Susie,
10cc. Another one by Slade. Peters and Lee. Gary Glitter. Donny Osmond again. Wizard again. Simon Park Orchestra. David Cassidy. Gary Glitter again, and Slade again. Actually, Slade has
big year in
'73
for Slade. I bet actually I might have to do some research for that one.
Yes. I'm not sure I'm terribly happy about what was number one when I was born.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that next episode. But
okay, I'm terrified to look forward.
It's just another soppy one, you know. It's not.
You're born in a sea of soppiness.
But
it was possibly on the radio as you first came into this world. It may have
please,
shaped your entire life.
Oh dear. Well, Martin, thank you very much for talking with me.
Always a pleasure, Paul.
And we'll be back to talk about 73. I think we can do at least two more in the 70s before we have to reconsider what we're doing next. But
we catch up with ourselves, or catch up with yourselves.
Yes, yeah. Okie dokie. Well, take care, listeners, and we'll see you again soon. And coming up after the music, we have Ick doing his versions of some of these 72 songs.
I look forward to it. You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, Paul, I'm quite excited to hear what Ig has for us, in store with his singing this episode. Well, what do you say? Have you heard him rehearsing? Yeah, well, yes, actually, yes, I have. Does sound like it could be almost as good as that 1968 episode. Yeah. Well, the 1968 episode. Why that one? Oh, I don't know about you, but I thought that was one of his strongest episodes. I guess because I'm editing things, I get to hear it a lot more on repeat than maybe you do. But the 1968 episode, I'm pretty sure, is one of his very best. Didn't get all the words, but the tunes were spot on. Oh, Paul, I'm so glad to hear it because, between you and I, he does not always do his, quite as much rehearsal as he could do, I think. Oh, yes, I know what you mean. But, no, I think this is going to be good. Oh, I can hear the theme music. Get ready, listeners. Yes, here comes it with the big hits of 1972. Let's hope it's a good one. Oh, yeah, let's hope.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice. I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice. We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
Hello, listeners. I'm going to sing some of the hits of 1972. Yes. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Yes, and there's Telegram Sam, you're my Telegram Sam, you're my main man. Son of my father. Son of my father. I can't live if living is without you. I can't live. I can't give anymore. I can't live if living is without you. I can't live. I can't give anymore. Amazing Grace, but it's an instrumental. Ba 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 ba. Hard drums, bang bang bang. Metal Guru, Metal Guru. Diddly-doo, diddly-doo, diddly-doo. As they call it, puppy love. La 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 la. La 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 la. School's out for summer. School's out forever. You wear it well. Mama, we're all crazy now. My ding-a-ling. Modio-do. How can I be sure? Modio-do. Claire, my ding-a-ling. I didn't rehearse any of those. You're my long-haired lover from Liverpool. Are-you-be-do-be-do-be-do? Ooh-ooh. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. I am a long-haired lover from Liverpool.
Ick. It's sounding good. There are some gaps in your number one song list, though.
Yes, Paul. It was difficult to locate them.
Difficult to locate them? Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe you can do some of the other top 10 hits just to finish off.
I will do that, Paul. Yes, yes.
Good. Keep going. Channel 1968.
Oh, yes, 1968. I hear that was your favourite year as far as my singing was concerned.
That's exactly right, Ick. Yes, I thought you did a great job. Anyway, keep on going. Keep on with the good work.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. Doop, 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 the horse with no name. Doop, 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 doop. Yeah. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. shove it to the levee and the levee was dry. Good old boy singing whiskey and rye. This will be the day that I die. Ooh, this will be the day that I die. A bit too deep for me, that one. What else? Meet me on the corner where the lights are going on, and I'll be there. I promise I'll be there. Boom, boom. Oh yeah. I don't know that one. Deborah. Deborah. Rocket. Oh yes. Rocket. They fight. A little ba. I think it's gonna be a long time. I think it's ba. I think the man that think I was that. Oh, no. But I'm a rocket man. Something like that. Yes. What else? Oh dear. I don't know that one. Sylvia's mother. Ooh, wackadoo, wackaday. I wish I did know that one. Sounds cool. All the young dudes carry the news. All the boogaloo dudes carry the news. Do. Ooh, boogaloo dudes. Ooh, booby doo. Yes. Gosh. Haven't I run out of time yet, Paul?
Nearly. Maybe room for one more?
Okay. Got it. So Merry Christmas. So Merry Christmas. And what have you done? Da-da-da-ba-ba-ba. Do. A very Merry Christmas. And Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one. Without any fear. Do. So Happy Christmas. Oh, black and white. Do. Ba 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 ba. Do.
Time's up, Ick.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, what a shame. Oh, dear. Okay, bye, listeners. Thanks for listening.
Bye, listeners. Yes, 1973 next time. It's a good year.
Oh, yes, Paul. A very good year. Oh.
Against my better judgment, here we are. Another episode of the Shy Life Podcast. I believe.
479.
479. Oh, yeah. That's perfectly normal.
79.
Shy Life Podcast. Perfectly normal.
79.
479.
479. I don't know, but sometimes this show is really weird.